Hello everybody and welcome to the Learn Dota 2 League, Season 14, Week 3. Today we got Brothers Against NATO, Guided by Allah. We got the G-Raff Laboratory. I always put an E on the end of that even though it's not actually there. And of course we've got the Matthias Child, alias Matty Boy, who's here with us again. We also got a first man, Enigma Marcy.
Enigma Marcy and Ogre.
Radiant team
And Pudge. Yeah, sounds about right.
Silence. Immediately taking the silencer right off of him.
Yup.
They ain't getting to run that twice. Reminds me of some of those early games that we saw in the LD2L Season 12. Which is the last time, I think, that the silencer is like a pretty frequently seen figure.
Just a good hero.
5 seconds remaining.
Double silence, a lot of damage, infinite scaling. Can be flexed to multiple positions. Like, just... if it's good, it's good.
And he can build a lot, too. Like, there's really not many items. Like, obviously, anything for, like, the melee heroes. Got the Crystal Main first pick. Obviously, anything for, like, a melee hero isn't gonna work, but, like, most items that are applicable to ranged heroes, you can pretty much build on Silencer, I think.
Yeah, he's got a lot of different items, and especially with the addition of Witchblade, it's...
The Sky-Raff live through me!
They're doubling down on the fragile int heroes.
It's time to put out the
I'm
glass
a huge,
cannons!
huge Sky-Raff 5 enjoyer, so
10 seconds
I
remaining.
can't, like, hate on any Sky-Raff game, but when you pair it with the CM... I don't know, that's...
Here's my question to you, friend. What do you think about both of these in a game with Silencer? Because I'm not a fan.
Yeah... I don't know, that... I see two big int pools.
Yep, stealing's going to impact their performance quite a bit. Silencer kind of has to fail this game, or else these two
And then
do.
you pick a Tiny, and it's... yeah, no shit. These guys have less than 1k health for quite a while.
Dire team ban.
And Tiny does quite a fuck ton of damage, and you pair him with a silencer no matter what position.
And if Tiny goes in for the kill and something bad starts to happen to him, then Silencer hits R, and suddenly that bad thing goes away. No anti-mage.
Yeah.
God damn, that would be even worse. Imagine the reality where you have an anti-mage on Brothers Against NATO.
I don't know, man. This is just like setting themselves up for a really tough game. I just, like, I don't know, like, is the Sky-Raff going to be mid and they're just really picking it?
Remaining.
But why is kind of my thought.
Remaining.
Like, if you're going to go for this Sky-Raff mid, why not just pick your offlaner here? Because that's such a niche pick that if that's what, like, your guy is super comfortable with, even if it's what Howler's, like, super comfortable with, like, why pick it this early?
Yep. I mean, the upside is that you can basically flex it
10
three
seconds
ways,
remaining.
presumably. The downside is that, I mean,
5 seconds
the CM does make it harder. The CM4 is never great, but you can do it. It's not impossible.
Well, the CM4 does the exact same thing as the CM5. There's
Yeah.
no difference. CM is CM.
So to that end, it's just I think the what you get out of CM is usually something you want more in a safe lane environment than an off lane environment.
Exactly. You want someone to just sit in
10
the
seconds
fucking
remaining.
trees and just use spells on the creeps.
So to that end, with the Crystal Maiden, you don't probably ideally want to do it for it. You can do it though. So
You
hypothetically,
can, but why? Like, you don't scale as well as you would want, like, I
10
mean, ideally a
seconds remaining.
Skyrath 4.
right?
But
What I'm saying is,
this,
you can flex it a lot of
5
ways. Just you
seconds
probably
remaining.
shouldn't do it that way, but it is an option still if they decide they need to. I think
They
that's really the only
can.
benefit from picking this early. I don't know if that's a big enough benefit. I'm gonna say with the Tony and the Silencer, I'm gonna say nada to that.
yeah, I don't know. This is just a very odd 1-2 pick. We'll see what they pick in the rest of the draft to compensate for it, but this is just such a well answered. One, two, that. Yeah.
So answered by what's already on the table too. Like the brothers against NATO, first 2 picks, it feels like just totally
Radiant
shatter
team
these 2
pick.
guys. Wraith King. Okay, yeah. Brothers against NATO's win chance just went up like 30%.
Yeah.
They have no obligation. I understand why they did that. They want somebody who's going to be able to power through the global silence, literally no matter what
5
happens.
seconds
I get that.
remaining.
They have literally no obligation to, like, not just punish that. Like, there's just so many long fight ones that you can pick right now. Or long fight any position, really. I mean, you want to know who Wraith King really doesn't want to ever see? How about a Bristleback? I mean, that just totally sucks for him. You know, you just get back up and it's just right back to the start, except now he's got a million angry stacks on him and you have the same thing you died with, basically.
Yep.
You want to talk about, like, I don't know, you want to talk about a Slardar? That also sucks. How about a Pit Lord? Pit Lord likes
There it
long
is.
fights.
Yeah. Percentage-based damage just does not do well.
Oh, and by the way, this
Goodbye.
is the guy you would be buying Crimson Guard on, if anybody, basically.
10 seconds remaining.
Yeah, this is like the only person.
5 seconds remaining.
And against,
I don't know,
like,
I
PL,
just-
for example.
Yeah, against illusion
Dire
heroes,
team
but
pick.
Snapfire.
there it is. So you could lane the tiny or the snap with the Underlord. Silencer's kind of
Basically.
5. And whatever, you know,
10
Snapfire or
seconds
Tiny
remaining.
doesn't go off lane, goes mid, and they're looking for
Radiant team back.
Speaking of Slardar. Do you like
Yeah.
the Slardar bet here? I think Slardar is a pretty solid answer to the Underlord in the way that he does fizz damage that does not really care so much about if it's getting reduced. He does a lot to kind of undo
10
what the Pit
seconds
Lord
remaining.
passive does. And he can at least presumably
5
do a lot of
seconds
damage to Blink
remaining.
this game. Blink on the Silencer, he's dead. Blink on the Snapfire, she's ruined.
Yeah, but what if the other one gets to the slaughter before he gets there?
Excellent question!
You
The
know,
answer is,
like,
they can't let that happen.
there's Radiant has like 3-4 ways to start fights, and Dire has
team
one.
back.
Dire has one, and I just gotta be honest with you, I feel like this is not the situation Slardar was born for.
Radiant team
I feel
back.
like Slardar is at his best when he can go in, hit W, start beating people up, and have an immediate follow-up by somebody who's also basically like an initiator. You know, he's at his best when he can go in, hit W, and then Snapfire, and then Void, and then so on and so forth. Not, he goes in and hits W and says, "Come on, guys!" and everyone just kind of has to show up with him. Like, I don't know.
5 seconds
Yeah,
remaining.
it's, I don't know. Like, you've got the CM follow-up, you've got the Skyrath follow-up. It's something, but it's not the control that the Slardar needs. Like, he's gonna blink, W.
And then he has
you
to not
ideally
die.
Have you have a bash primed, so you have your W and a right click after that on one hero. You want something else to stun after that, so maybe the Red King's there
Dire
and this,
team back.
or this mid lane pick is there, but
Oh, and by the way, if you don't get basically all 4 of these guys in your initial stun, it's going nowhere. You don't get
Yeah,
Silencer,
that's the
silence.
problem,
You don't
is-
get Tiny, he rolls the Avalanche on you. You don't get Pit Lord, he just drops his W, drops his Q, watches you do no damage. If you don't get the Snapfire, then the best thing you can hope for is a cookie, and the worst thing you can look for is an artillery barrage aimed directly at your forehead. And we haven't even gotten to the 5th pick yet.
5 seconds remaining.
yeah, there's a lot of like Pit Lord Slardar is not good. Slardar wants to, especially with all the added water, like you want to slither. And you can't do that when there's a fucking AoE root and an Atos. So Just, it is what it is.
Brothers against NATO are going to run out their entire clock, pick at literally the last second.
Apparently, yeah.
Drow Ranger.
Drow. Yeah.
I'm Drow Ranger. Slardar's good against me, but I'm just another person that he has to stun every fight or else he dies instantly.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you jump the Drow and then you get
Everything else.
chunked.
And this is not a lineup so far where you're going to have, I think, and this is going to be the biggest problem, not a lineup where you're going to have everybody in the perfect place for this. I mean, who's really going to be, like, the most ideal situation if you jump Drow is that maybe Snapfire is also close. The most ideal situation if you jump to Pit Lord is maybe Tiny's also close. And nobody is going to be sitting next to Silencer, probably. They're all very different points in the formation, very different points in the line. They all have a very different, comfortable range of engagement. So to that end, it's going to be pretty rare for Slardar to be able to hit more than one person with his W, and that really sucks for him.
Yeah.
You may now select.
All right, hell with engagement. We're just hell with like starting fights. We're just gonna right-click into all action and just hope for the best.
Sure.
Luther's got a big question mark on his head. Well, here's the rundown on this sniper. If Underlord is allowed to use his ult for Sniper, then Sniper is going to die every time he gets to do it, basically. If he's not, if the enemy team can force him into a scenario where he needs to be using it for other purposes, or if he just, the Sniper is perpetually around a giant, you know, laundry list of people, then it's going to be a bit of a hard game, like, for the Pit Lord trying to deal with them. It's going to be a bit hard for the Tiny, the Drow Ranger. Only the Snapfire on their team is a great response. But it also counts...
Drow have the Immortal with the crossbow?
Fantastic question. But, the issue, it might be like a setup thing. Sometimes you have, like,
They
sets
might
like
have
that.
added in a style that I'm not aware of, but...
Sometimes you see sets show up like this on the matchup screen that don't actually do that when you get in the game.
Yeah.
But either way, all that assumes, though, that the rest of Sniper's team doesn't just get tossed right into the oblivion, which is, I think, a very realistic possibility here. I think there's a very unfortunately realistic possibility that Sniper's team just gets ignored, they take him out, and once they take him out, then G-Raff's lab has no victory conditions left, basically. Because Wraith King ain't going to do it for him. Slardar needs other people. And these two supports are just so, as mentioned before, just so answered by the enemy support line. That it kind of, you can kind of assume, yeah, probably not much happening there. By the way, it's mid-Tiny this time. Mid is Antonio. It is a pause 4 Snapfire. Pause 5 Silencer. Unless they're lane swapping, but I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're just going to send their stand-in mid, you know, stand-in mid laner, just in a mid.
I can tell you this much. Sometimes, you know, I think the biggest question when it comes to Drow laning, right, is Gust or no Gust. This is like a very Gust-tastic lane. If Drow puts a single value point in it, she's never going to die again after that point. I really don't see how it happens. Unless maybe Heller is able to get himself into some really god positions and just constantly flummox new obs on the Silencer. That's basically it. And even that's kind of a stretch. There's definitely a good Gust lane for Drow. See if she actually gets through with it.
The battle begins.
Reposition today's beverage so it does not obscure the minimap. I like Drow's item arrangement here. It's nice. You got the little triangle of iron branches, and it really just looks like she's trying to put together one of the pre-rework magic sticks. Or magic wands, rather. I can tell you this, I think I would have rather seen the Snapfire here in mid than this Tiny. I feel like he's gonna have a bit of trouble against the Sniper unless he's able to close really consistently. Which is kind of an idealistic thing to want on a team with a Sniper on it. On the other hand, for the brothers against NATO, this Pit Lord in Snapfire lane is going to be mean as hell. I do not envy these two on the Radiant having to deal with this, especially not poor Wraith King, who's known for being a pretty bad laner anyway. Not like Obi, I mean the hero, the Skeleton King. So fragile lane hero plus two guys who can make him miserable so many ways. And Luth has decided to go for my favorite form of Pause 1 harassment, the Pit Lord Gaming, starting off with a Z just to deny Wraith King some of these early last hits. What a jerk.
Yeah. Just go for the straight, like, stats, no mana build, all into the passive. Love it.
Pit Lord Gaming is so much fun, nobody in the world is used to trying to last hit under the Pit Lord passive, not a man alive. So you just constantly
there was one
see
game
people
for the
being
vibes, I went for a double bracer and just all my gold into fucking Iron Branches, and it was great. Just chomp
Wraith
people.
King! Wraith King just used his stun on the range creep and it still got denied out from under him. This is truly sad. Pit Lord hits level 2, literally the second he does, he just drops his fire on the wave. I don't think I like that very much. That level 1 Pit Lord Q does not do a lot. But then again, I guess it is a very fragile Wraith King, so. I think maybe a Snap has 2 and has a cookie. It's only going to be a lot better after that. Like when the cookie comes out, the cookie plus the pit. If Pit Lord can predict when the cookie's going to land, it's going to be harsh. It's going to be hell to deal with. Drow's about to hit a pivotal level as far as is she going to level the Gust. She's usually 3 or 4.
I don't know. This might be the level where you go for the multi-shot level 2, kind of max that out. Get your max farm, but I don't know.
Certainly a risk and reward here. Goes
There
for the
is
Frost Arrow
go for
instead.
the Frost Arrows.
This'll come in handy.
I mean, it kind of works on this lane too. It is a risk-reward scenario. You can, I think, exist kind of in this lane. You're not that much danger, but you have to be really, really leaning on the silencer to not just constantly get bashed out, basically. So far, this Pit Lord and the not Pit Lord, this Tiny and the Sniper are closer parity as far as the last hits go than I kind of thought they were going to be. Sniper's having a little bit of trouble actually doing an appreciable amount of damage to Tiny, even when he's just walking right into the lane and just tanking it. That might change, though, as he's going for a second Wraith Band here, and that could definitely spell some trouble. Snapfire going out here. Pit Lord not dropping, which is a bit unfortunate. Could have probably shaved off like about a quarter of his health, but Snapfire going for round 2, though, has done the classic anti-gaming move of eating the tango before any of the cooldowns are actually ready. Up, good use of the pit by Pit Lord, but not pit, use of the Q by Pit Lord, but ultimately does not stop the Wraith King from just getting the first blood. Which is not a fantastic start. Wraith King's a bad laner. You don't want to give him first blood, though. It's probably the biggest thing he's going to get out of here. Immediately, oh, well, okay, what happened to Godfrey? We got to see that. Getting stunned out here while Silencer's nowhere near this lane. I think that's a bit unfortunate. I think we've seen a couple of instances of this happening in the most recent few games where it's like Silencer is going to have to be more attentive of this lane than he's been so far, especially if Drow is going to opt not to level Gust. This is not a lane where Drow is going to survive on her own. Like, if Drow is solo in this lane, then she's going to die. And the longer the lane goes on, the worse that factor is going to be. You can pretty much take that to the bank. So far, Pit Lord leading with the last hits. followed by everybody on Dire in order. Got to inspire a little bit of sweating going on. Oh, Sniper is a good position for Sniper. Well, good position for Tiny to put Sniper in. He wasn't able to toss him that far. I think he was able to get him to the catapult there rather than to the melee creeps, and that might have been a kill. Should definitely be good for Tiny. I don't think he's going to get many kill opportunities in this lane particularly. Haller and New Ob's just contesting over the pulls here. Strauss just kind of sitting here going, where's my creeps? They have now had two mutual pulls come together and just form a new creep wave, basically. Luth trying to go the distance here at top is trying to go under tower here.
Nope.
Ha, Snapfire denies a sentry. Well, speaking of denies, Silencer might be denied a right to life here in a minute. Yep, he's gonna go down too. People are getting stunned out at top. Maniac is pulling right now. Oh, this could be bad for Obi! Nope, he had a stick there. All of Snapfire's cooldowns are still way too long to actually get anything done here. And in fact, Luth... No, Luth is gonna be okay. Coffee Cat randomly dies at bot lane. Okay, this is about the most disastrous a game could start for you at this point for Dire. Like, or for Radiant, rather. Like... Huh? Okay, Matty, you're awake, right? Matty Boy? Oh my god, Matty Boy's power went out. Okay. Alright. Well, this is now going to be a Matty Boyless cast. It's okay, you can pretend that he's still with us in your head. It means this is going to be a solo cast. Nuts, I hate having to do this. Oh well. Pitlord is leaning so hard on the Pitlord gaming here. He's actually completely declined to get even a single level of the pit, which... I guess it's okay. I mean, Pit of Malice I do think is kind of something where it's like if you're not going to max it, just don't bother at all. I do think there have been a couple of occasions where the value point in it would have done more than the equivalent point in the queue. I don't know. New Ob's just going to die again. This bot lane. It's going very, very tragically for the Radiant right now. They desperately... I mean, the Drow just needs to level the goddamn Gust. It's just long and short of it. Drow needs to level the Gust so she can just make Slardar just go away, so she can make Skyrath shut up for a minute. Neither of them are very well equipped to deal with it. G-Raff is going to get run over here at the top lane as Wraith King makes a hasty retreat. He got his first blood, but since then it's been all downhill. 34 last hits only, compared to 63 on the Pit Lord here. Has thus far not really been able to successfully do anything about the Pit Lord gaming. The Pit Lord passive.
Structures are fortified.
Lord opting not to go for his ult here. Honestly, at this point, I would really strongly consider it. I think at this point, it's probably a better investment to try and find a place to go in and bail out the Drow Ranger than it is to try and stay in this lane, push and farm. Like, you get the tower. Tower is great. You want this T1 tower as soon as humanly possible. I get that. On the other hand, you don't want Drow Ranger to be sitting here, you know, running scared, least last hits in the entire server. Sitting on 1k more than the support line. I mean, it's not great. And she's still in a bad spot. I mean, she's still getting chased her, huh? Wait a minute, no, let's see a replay of that. What was this?
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
She just taking the express train back to spawn, I guess.
Dire's top
It was
tower
okay.
is under attack.
It's an okay strategy, especially if you're deep in like this. Gets a free trip back to spawn, gets a free mana bar. Not really any waiting, and if you want to redeploy to bot, which you probably do, that's a good way to go about it, you know, just there was also another way, guys. There was also another way. You just had to consider it. It's all about three-dimensional thinking.
Dire's top
Power
tower
Ranger
is
runs to
under
mid,
attack.
tries to find some
Radiant's
farm,
middle
sees
tower
Sniper,
is under
says
attack.
NVM. Sniper and Tiny, pretty much equivalent. It's a much more of a stalemate than I thought it was going to be. And goodbye to the Drow Ranger once again.
Regeneration.
Oh, it really sucks to be Drow Ranger right now. This is an abominable start for her. Then again, it's also an abominable start for the other Pause 1. It's just the typical LD2L Season 14 game. Just both the off lanes win, and the safe lanes are just sitting there like, what do I do now? Sardar, well, Silence is going to try and take a look at mid. This is a bad idea.
Dire's middle
Okay,
tower
not a
is under
Skyrath that's
attack.
going to come in at the... Nope, never mind. Yeah, that's a bad idea. Oh my god, just barely lived out there. Pillard is a little closer to this, where if he had the ult, this will be a very easy kill for him, but no such luck. Tiny Q just immediately wipes the Crystal Main off the face of the earth. That's the end of this fight. Drow Ranger and Skeleton King
Radiant's middle tower
up
is
here,
under
just
attack.
really hoping to God the other person doesn't do anything, basically. Crystal Main is now litter and has bought a book. Drow Ranger has the weird seeds thing. Tranks are going to help the upkeep on the Snapfire here, which it feels like she's been in pretty desperate need of for a while. Lord has finished that Atos. He actually finished Atos at about the same time he got a level of Pit of Malice, so finally he has a stun. I think, and this is probably going to be one of my most controversial opinions of all time, I think a lot of times the Rod of Atos is less necessary on the Pit Lord than people think it is. You've got so much to, again, 50, 30, nope. Oh man, another life where he's just 20 health from getting killed by the Silencer Q. Definitely good play here from Copeless, knowing exactly where the period falls at the end of the sentence. Crystal Main attempting to get something done here, but just gets shot down for her troubles. Yeah, with the Bitlord, a lot of alternative ways to do more damage that don't involve just this, because this is kind of redundant versus your Pit once it starts getting higher level.
Dire's middle tower
You know, what
is
it
under
eventually
attack.
turns into is basically 2 ticks more of the of your Q fall on your head. Basically, that's how the math runs out a lot of the time.
Radiant
And so to that
structures
end,
are
sometimes
fortified.
it's like, do you really need it? Eh, not really. It can be dodged, it can be prevented. In a game like this, though, this is certainly a game where the Atos is going to help you out a lot. First life on the Wraith King here. Gonna turn around, try to bring it back to the Pit Lord, but having to eat a whole Firestorm like that is not gonna make these guys more appealing. Slardar's coming out. Slardar wants to get something done, but Slardar's like the worst possible guy for this particular job. See there at level 1 Pit of Malice is basically the time between 2 strikes of the Pit. It gets harder to time actually as you level up Pit of Malice, so it becomes less convenient to try and hold longer in there over the course of the game. But in a game with a sniper in it, I mean, you accept no substitutes. I mean, that's just one of the best items in the game for him. Tiny is caught a little ways out here. It's a good global silence. But that was like, oh my god, that was the picture of poor coordination right there. Impossibly bad coordination. As Tiny basically frees his opposition here. Everybody groups together to eat the full effect of the Skyrath bolt, which is the good thing to do. You want to be hugging people in that thing as it distributes the damage equally among all affected targets, which is usually, if you can handle it, not a bad idea. Silencer's gonna find himself a kill here. Well, the Silencer, but the Snapfire finds that particular kill. Nuabs, however, finds the intelligence of both the Skyrath and the Slardar, the cumulative former offlane. Sardar's got that Lance of Pursuit, which is a really nice find for him in this game. And even having, I'm looking at the Bash of the Deep, I feel like that's going to mean anything. Even having lost only a very small try full of intelligence, Slardar is a sort of hero where, you know, any amount you lose is kind of noticeable. His regen is pretty bad, even if his costs are pretty low all around. You will find yourself often, especially once your sprint gets higher levels, or if you're trying to use items like Mask of Madness, you will find that you're going to start running low kind of quick in a campaign, so losing it, not the best factor in the world, especially once you start also having to consider your BKB in the equation.
Thanks.
Gee, thanks. Skeleton King and Drow Ranger are sitting at about the same level of farm, which would normally be uninteresting, except for this caveat. Sniper is also there. Things have started to go quite wrong for Sniper in quite dramatic fashion over the last couple of minutes. To say the least, this is not the position you want to be in a game like this. You're basically putting your entire house on the... Okay, this is way too far away. Putting your entire house on the support line, on the, well, really the 3 and under club. Pitlord has realized that his teleport was a bit awkwardly placed, then just goes right back to where he was. It's the Firestorm radius rather than the armor here. Fifth King finds the funny occult bracelet, which is actually going to be kind of a godsend for his team. A sorcerer regen for your mana like that against a team with a silencer on is going to help you a lot. At least assuming, anyway, on the off chance you're able to cast things at all once the bigger team fights begin, which is a much harder prospect. At least until the BKB start coming out en masse.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
Tiny rolling right on the Skyrath here, right under his T1 tower, just immediately flattens him. Maniac telling Tiny, get the goddamn tower already. Tiny says, no, look at me. I'm a big rock guy. I kill towers only when I want to, and not a second before. Lord appears to be headed for a Lotus Orb here? Yep. Headed right for that Lotus Orb. Picks it up. It's going to be good for reflecting the Skyrath stuff. It's going to be good for reflecting the Wraith King stuff. It's going to be good for reflecting Assassinate, the Slardar ult, CM stun. So it's definitely a strong game for the Lotus. And outside of the Skyrath stuff, it's a little hard to see like any of that being more worth doing the BKB on. Maniac going in deep here. Unintentionally going to be walking into a smoke gank. Does not see coming. Skyrath immediately says, hell with your smoke gank, you're not doing this today. And actually he's trying to turn things around on them. This is very, very ambitious, especially without everyone any like real vision on this area. You do have that observer reward now, though. Did not initially see that, but upon further inspection, yeah, it's still pretty ambitious, though. Artillery strike coming in. Not on the Slardar, though. I gotta say, I don't know if I'm down with that game plan. Goodbye, Skyrath Mage. Who Snapfire just barely missing these two very low health targets here. Slardar trying to turn this around, but he is going to get it done, actually, and get away scot-free. The stuns were just not ready for Slardar at that point, or they just did not think it was, okay, Kilplus is crazy. Where is the rod? That's so late. I gotta question that a little bit. You know, if you're gonna get it, you better use it right, buddy.
Invisibility.
New Wobbs picks up some invisibility. And while we're watching CM die, there is a much more important kill somewhere else as Coffee Cat did go down there. Coffee Cat has been climbing up this net worth chart, which is good. That death wasn't great, but, you know, is now above the Skeleton King or the Sniper and is close to parity with the Slardar, but not quite a Sicaria yet.
Bottom tower is under attack. Dire's bottom tower has fallen.
But Lord now looking for the Shivas, which
Radiant's
again,
middle tower
Shivas is
is
going to be
under attack.
really great for him this game if he can actually get into the Sniper's face. In no other condition is that going to be good, but if he can do that, he's doing himself well by it. Defensive smoke here as the rest of the Radiant kind of retreats from the area that they were formerly in with the Pit Lord who TP'd out. Dagger Restule is a very good item for the Wraith King, I will say that much. Slardar, okay, that's an awkward spot for Slardar to TP. Not TP, but blink. Good silence, yeah, good silence on the silencer. Artillery immediately coming out to try and knock down Wraith King Part 2, and man, this totally sucks. Goes down, gets his int stolen, but now they're in front of Slardar. Eating hits. Tiny's dead. Tiny's not dead. Tiny's not dead. Tiny's dead, okay. Pit Lord tries to take the Pit Lord Express back home, but this is not happening. And again, it feels like same story as last time. It feels like at this point, the need is for Drow Ranger to finish this up as soon as humanly possible, get out there. They're able to knock over the Pause 1, they're able to knock over Obi, but they're not able to get
Radiant's
anybody
middle
else with
tower
any
is
real
under attack.
consistency. I will say at the very least, oh, Dagger Restore for Drow Ranger too, and Specialist Array. I will say at the very least,
Radiant's
getting the
middle
Wraith
tower
King in
is
this
under
game probably
attack.
means a little bit more to the whole situation than getting the Spectre in the last game, but the caveat that Sniper got a lot of those kills really waters that down. We're back to status quo. That was just not good for the Radiant there.
Regeneration.
Slardar regenerates. The Silencer got himself a Force Staff, which is going to be good for this game. Drow Ranger with that Manta style. We're a Hurricane Pike next, that's good. Hurricane Pike, a decent enough response to Slardar, will help close the range gap with Sniper, both in terms of the metaphorical range gap, which implies that Sniper has better range, and the literal range gap, which is to say the space between the two of you. Nuob's desperately trying to escape here with his life, though. Looking very, particularly unlikely. Oh, the global silence in the defensive smoke, but it immediately gets broken. Slardar's not gonna live this. Okay, bye-bye, Slardar. Tiny's not gonna live this either. Bye-bye, Tiny. That's pretty much an equivalent trade, I would say. Well, it's gonna get a lot less equivalent if these two guys die. Sniper going down, he says, no! Blink Dagger's gonna be big here. Okay, not if there's no pit or anything. Okay, yes, if Wraith King's randomly just gonna die. Okay, why did he turn around, Wraith King? This ain't good, bro. Okay, but where's the rest of the team? Coffee Cat, hello! Get some done, maybe? He's okay. Alright. Everybody on Radiant retreats from a situation where they have a pretty distinct advantage, and I really don't understand that. Especially considering Tiny was
I'll take that.
coming up. Means he could have just TP'd to the T1 down here if things started getting hairier and hairier. Does not happen that way. Okay, goodbye. Nope, never mind. Slardar decides he wants something bigger, and something bigger he just might get. Go for the Drow Ranger here. Silence finally coming out, and boy, with that silence, Slardar sure suddenly looks like he means a lot less.
Well, one less enemy now.
Timing on the rod could definitely be better. When you get the rod, you want to time it so that your pit's done. You're not like crossing over, wasting some of the rod time. Wraith King just finished his Desolator. He probably wishes he'd gotten that a little deso sooner, but... Is the war over already? That I do not know. Tiny, once again. Tiny feels like he's in a bit of a hole this game. He just needs to get out of it. He's going to have much impact. He's going to need a little bit more than this.
This'll come in handy.
He's always going to be able to just roll over these supports, but we already knew that. He can always roll over the supports, no matter what. He could do that as a support himself if he wanted to.
Dire are scanning.
He needs to have, if he's going to be their mid, he needs to have some relevance in the core matchup this game. So far, that's not really happening. See him immediately going to die. Get it? Sardar was not watching the mini-map, I guess. There's definitely one of these situations where one more tick at the pit is definitely good for you. Timing it, of course, that means that it's very important. If, one tick is going to change the world, and by all means, get that run. Especially if they're not going to be building the BKB relatively soon to deal with it, which these guys are not. Oh, my throat is killing me. I cannot tell you how much casting I've been doing over these last 3 days. So apologies for the brief bouts of silence that you're going to hear in some of these moments like this, which is a pretty casual push here on the T2. Sardar looks like it gets right in between these two guys. A well-placed stun, but I mean he's just so not good into Drow that it really doesn't matter that much. Good blink by Tiny. Figures out exactly where Sardar's going to go and just rids him with this. Just rids the world of his presence. 10k net worth advantage for the for G-Raff's laboratory here. This is one experiment that so far is looking like it's almost not G-Raff's lab. This is the other team. Deficit for G-Raff's labs. One experiment that looks like it is not panning out with good results so far. Which is always what I was going to say, but I said too much backwards. Brain fell out. You know how it goes sometimes, folks. First rush of the game is going down in record time, just beating the hell out of this poor dude here. Enemy team has neither knowledge nor ability to do anything about this. Pitlord's gonna go right back home, guarantee dollars to donuts. If anything happens, Pitlord Express takes him right there. He's actually gonna leave spawn before he's ready. There we go, buddy.
Hold on to your
Wraith King. If Wraith King gets caught under vision, things can go real bad for him real quick. So far, nobody on the Radiant was really that interested. It seems they learned their lesson from last time. Instead of tick-tock, 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 instead of the situation where the Brothers Against NATO are going to take the Aegis and then just have somebody on their team randomly die, this time they're going to take the Aegis and have nobody on their team randomly die because they're all going to stay back, except for the Pitlord here, who's going to bully the poor Slardar, who's going to get just forced out here. Which is probably the biggest weakness of the Pitlord. Any good support is inevitably going to get the Force Staff, and that does not stop, like the Rod does not help that in literally any way. Aside from making it slightly more important that they do that. Psychic Headband on the Tony. BKB coming up with the Pitlord. He's going to buy basically all of it in one chunk, it seems. There's going to be a lot of money for this guy. Mindbreaker on the Tiny. That's an item that can have some really grave consequences for some people on this lineup. Sniper's bot is BKB, which is going to make him quite a bit harder to deal with on this team, actually. Pitlord has found his at the exact same moment, at least.
Radiant's middle tower. is
Tiny's
under
definitely
attack.
started dragging himself out of this hole. He's still the lowest net worth core on his entire team, but not by that much of a margin, and he's doing about as well as the Dire cores right now. Snapfire picks up the Ags. He's gonna have that gobble up and
Radiant's top
spit out to
tower
play
is
with.
under attack.
A soldier's fortune.
Which can be, which now means that there's two potential people on this team who control each other.
Dire structures are fortified.
See, if you're really devious, you can use the gobble up to launch Tiny to a place where he can throw his
Dire's
teammate
middle
into more
tower
danger.
is under attack.
Slardar is so willing to just go in on this here, but he just doesn't really have the ability to follow up on it. Drow wants to go in. I agree with Drow here, for the record, but nobody else on our team except the Snapfire really seems to. Snapfire ult is just going to assassinate the CM on the back line. With a little help from the Pit Lord. Just inspired Drow's team a little bit here, but
Dire's
maybe
middle
not
tower
quite
is
in the
under
way that
attack.
Drow would have wanted here. I don't know, again, I think maybe taking that loss in the last round really shook up the brothers against Allah here, because they're playing very, very cautiously in scenarios where it is not to their advantage to do so. They're playing very hesitantly. They've given up
I'll take
over
that.
half the time of this Aegis already, and it's seeming a little unlikely we're going to see the other half pan out. And again, you can kind of see there's almost sort of left-hand, right-hand situations going on for this team again. You know, Drow Ranger is enthusiastic, says, I want to go in, I want to make this happen. That's still in ring range, I think. Drow Ranger says, I want to go in, I want to make this happen. But the ultimate finding is, nope, nobody else on our team actually wants to. Tiny only realizes, hey, this is a great idea. Just a little too late. Nothing happens? Not great.
Radiant's bottom tower.
30
is under
seconds
attack.
remain on this Aegis at the end of this sentence. See? Which means this is like a farming only Aegis, basically. A farm and lose Tiny Aegis. Only the best Aegises in this game. Again, I have to wonder. Is it because Kami's not here? I assume. I mean, again, he could be operating under an entirely new name with entirely new clan tags. He could be this secret Zook who believes that a man has got to eat. That's within the realm of possibility, but it does feel like this is a stand-in, and if this is a stand-in, is a stand-in syndrome.
Regeneration.
Because I feel like, even in a situation, and right now, certainly the advantage favors this lineup, right? Even at a time like right now, it still kind of feels like this whole team is a ship without a rudder. When it goes forward, it's almost as much by coincidence as it is by effort. Smoke Gang coming out here on the Snapfire, who is unwittingly just constantly running away from this. It is going to pop on the Silencer. Supporters are going to waste as much time as possible trying to get this done. The silence goes out on the BK beats Slardar. A bit late on the global silence, but not the
Radiant's
worst in the
courier
world.
has been killed.
And Ops Courier getting sniped.
Radiant's middle tower is under attack.
Luth is just gonna completely lose his life here. He's going to lose his life. There's Silencer is hiding in the back lines here. Unwittingly making this situation, Deadly can't get this TB scroll.
Radiant's
Unwittingly
middle
making
tower
this
is under
situation a
attack.
lot worse for his enemy, as they've just wasted all the possible momentum from the end of this smoke gank, just trying to find a Silencer they didn't actually get. Drow Ranger's got a quite nice looking inventory here. Got BKB, got Hurricane Pike, got Mantis Style, sitting at a slightly lower net worth than the Wraith King, but I don't know, I feel like this money means a little bit more on Drow Ranger. Not because she scales better necessarily, but maybe because she's like a decent hero, I don't know. I also got these funny death summaries now. Look, I got Dota Plus, see? Look, he just took about 1,000,000 magic damage. Wow. That could actually be very useful in casting in the future. I should think about that. Oh, again, another good stun by the Sardar. And again, this BKB, for the time being, is going to make him basically invincible when he actually jumps people. They have nothing to deal with that. Dyer's going to try and take over the Roche Pit area. Pit Lord. Okay, BKB on the Pit Lord. That's good. Seems like he's about as invincible as the enemy team is when he BKBs. Very big BKB game all around. Salzer actually ran out of mana to try and ult there or anything. Running home to collect his cool glaives. As usual in a situation like this where it's kind of tense for the G-Raff laboratory lineup, they get the longest possible Roche timer. Big boy LaCroix looking for his Silver Edge, at least in the long run, looking for the Shadow Blade right now.
Haste.
Some good passes to get rid of in this lineup. You know, Pit Lord, got the Drow passive. I'm not sure if this breaks, but I'm pretty positive it does. Grow definitely doesn't, but you know, price you pay. So Dyer has kind of abandoned this Roche Pit area. Luckily for them, this time now it's on the other, the shoes on the other foot. Now it's okay. Now for Radiant, it super sucks that it's the longest possible Roche timer. But Radiant do not care about this Roche at all. They actually care about going into the enemy jungle here and trying to look for somebody. Sardar draws a big green line. And he correctly, if perhaps unintentionally, highlights the entire enemy team. Wraith getting stunned by this stupid centaur. And by the way, in this downtime, Drow has wrangled the spot back and has now not only passed the Wraith King, but passed everyone. She's now the top net worth in the server, which is probably where you want her to be if you're a big fan of the Brothers against NATO, and not if you're a big fan of the G-Raff Laboratory. If you're wondering what this occasional stuttering is, that's me checking to see if Matty Boy's power came back. Snapfire just gets cleaved in two, completely annihilated by a smoke gank here. Ooh, this is bad for the Pit Lord, who just kind of gets eaten. Global Silence is going to make this part of the fight kind of awkward for the enemy team. We got a good Snapfire ult. GM just randomly going to die. Lots of... Oh, it's a good Force Staff. I don't know if that was Drow's Force Staff or one of the support line, but whoever did that Force Staff, it was Drow herself. Good goddamn work. A few buybacks come out of that fight. You can see the Snapfire and the Pit Lord both buy back. They did get 5 kills for it, and they saved Drow's life, and I think in this particular case it's probably pretty good. They can easily just go get the Roche done now. The enemy team is going to be kind of blind to this. They do have the vision on this, so they might buy back the contest, but I don't know if they can really, so I don't know. Certainly going to make it a lot harder if new Obs takes out the new Obs and the old Obs as well.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
The Lord is not taking the Atrophy Aura damage reduction here, which is a bit interesting. Guess he's figuring that too much of the fight but is spent by the enemies being BKB to get anything done there. Everybody almost forgets the Aegis. That would have been embarrassing. Let's see if they can do a little bit more with it than they did with the last Aegis. This time they got the Drow Shard along with it, which makes Drow probably the single most dangerous person in this entire server right now. He's going for a Butterfly, it seems. Butterfly plus Satanic. Again, I would like to remind all the Pause 1 players that you don't need and you shouldn't use the BKB on your first life, so you can basically always slot the Aegis over it, though, I mean, I guess arguably the strength that it gives you is probably about as good as the lifesteal would be anyway, so it's fine. Drow has found the most aesthetic cap in the entire game. Lord found himself a Witch Bay, and that's actually pretty big. Basically gives him gives him the ability to use Lotus Orb exclusively for the Reflect, and can use a Purge it as well. And purge enemies too, just for fun. Not like these guys are particularly likely to get any kind of self buffs, but you know, at least any kind that can be purged. I guess maybe if you for some reason get a hankering to take out like the Silver Edge buff off a sniper, you can do that. Okay, Wraith King's entire team is abandoning him. Okay, good. The Dire thought better of this and just got the hell out of Dodge. Everybody's trying to turtle now. Which is the right situation. They're thinking that the Dire went farther inland, but nope, they just got scanned out. Very well-timed scan. I don't know who thought to do that, but props to them on G-Raff's lab. It was a good idea. Sadly, unless you look at your player perspective, and even then, if you use a hotkey, it still doesn't work. Can't really see who did that. We could see you hovering on the mini-map, so we could. But we're not going to, because I hate credit. Stormcrafter can be kind of good for these supports, I think, in this game. Just on the Radiant, just let them survive for just like a second against Slardar and give somebody else the ability to get them the hell out of here. But yeah, the Pit Lord actually took it here. Ain't bad either.
Top tower is under attack.
The very moment any offense starts on this tower here, a bunch of TPs come out. G-Raff's laboratory is in full turtle formation. Tiny is in full I've got a Daedalus formation. Pit Lord's out of this fight, but if you know anything about Pit Lord, you mean that he's not, that he's not really out of this fight. This is a very, very brave start to this encounter on the part of one Wraith King, who is going to get out of this alive without even dropping a reincarnation, but is not going to have a BKB anytime soon. Shroud gets a kind of awkward silence off. Okay, Wraith King actually is going to lose his life for this. I mean, he just really can't fight at all for a while, can he? Where else is this going to happen to him? Wraith King going down, Sniper following. Both buying back immediately, but again, like, Wraith King doesn't have BKB, doesn't have Reincarnate, like, what's he really going to do? He's going to stun himself off of Lotus Orb is the answer to that question. Drow Ranger Manta dodges the Skyrath Q that would have ended her first life. A good use of the Force Staff there. That was on New Obs this time, and okay. Quick, everybody die! No detection means that these two guys with Invis are able to just stomp out the Drow, get rid of her first life. Drow's going to plug some arrows into the fountain here, but it's not a very worthwhile use of her time, as they're just able to heal off and get right back into the action. Luth is going to die immediately. Sniper is very hard for these guys to deal with. The Drow Ranger TP's out. The two other guys are just kind of awkwardly still here. Tiny nearly wipes CM off the face of the universe, but just immediately eats it the second he tries. Go back to the net worth chart here. I think everybody's probably got the buyback timings well down, and you can see now it's just a lateral flow of money from Drow Ranger at the top all the way to the Skeleton King at the bottom. This super sucks for Slardar. Bye-bye, buddy. Can't do that anymore. Learned your lesson now. Not without that BKB. Certainly need the BKB for that to be an objective you can do. Drow finds a flicker. certainly can be a bit annoying on this team. Yet another debuff dispel can help you avoid the Slardar a little bit. All things a growing boy needs. For some reason, this camp is marked as occupied, even though it only just now got that way.
Coin for me.
Ooh, Ob's getting really close to Boots of Bearing. Attack speed isn't the most important part of Drow, because, you know, she spends so much time multi-shotting, which, you know, really doesn't make much use of that stat. But when she's not doing that multi-shotting, that's going to be pretty big for her. You've been cursed. Trickster's Cloak coming out on the enemy team, on the Dire here, which is going to be a pretty good find for them, I think. Certainly something they can use on somebody like a Slardar, certainly something you use on something like a Sniper, where I think this would be a particularly good item for him. You know, anything that makes it harder for Drow to just start shooting you through your entire team at the back of the line, anything that makes it harder for Tiny to just blink on you and just drop everything, I think at this point for Sniper is a very major upside.
Dire are scanning.
Dire get the heebie-jeebies again. But this time they're actually barking up the wrong creek as Radiant is just slowly farming out here. Underlord got himself a halberd. Now with Sniper being really the operative danger on that team, there is actually something to be said about getting within halberd range of the guy without use of your ult. But if you can, then yeah, that's very good. If you cannot, then, well, at least it's still good for the Wraith King, so it's certainly not a bad purchase. Pit Lord should just take this outpost here. He's the one who's not smoked up here, so it's not a tell if he takes it. It's like a super tell if Tiny just randomly avalanches a wave everyone's looking at, though. Dire are going to be trying to take a fight here behind a tower that's just a few hits away from death. Gonna be a bit awkward for them. Tiny looking at an AC. It's not really too close. Drow is already at Reaver. She wants to go without buyback for a bit, which I think honestly she probably can. I really do not see these guys being able to kill out this game in the time of one Drow death. But you know, better safe than sorry, so you can't give her too much flack for doing it. Slardar looking for his Zags here, wants the cool run. Slardar almost just locked eyes with the Pit Lord there, but two ships, as they say, passing the night. Well, he's not actually done yet. Two ships passing the night, then one of those ships says, I'm not finished with you yet. Okay, Slardar's gonna be finished with life if he just stays here for too long, though. Gonna run right into Tiny. Blinks away. Tiny follows. Slardar TPs, and that's the end of the line. Which on one hand, hey, that's not too bad. You know, for Slardar, he just got away from a tricky situation while retaining his life. Downside, Slardar just used his BKB. Which means anything that happens in the next couple of minutes, he is not going to be able to live even a little bit. Drow and Tiny are just going to wipe him off the face of the earth. Unless maybe he gets a refresher shard right, or refresher orb rather, right now. Good start to this fight. Wraith King going to go down really quickly. Again, using the BKB first life.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Watch his Slardar just
Dire's middle
cease
tower
to be.
has fallen. Dire's structures are fortified. Dire's middle barracks are under attack.
Somebody on the enemy, on the, somebody on the Brothers Against NATO is trying to call to split here and get the T3 bot instead of the Rax mid, which I don't know if I necessarily agree with. First life on Wraith King, yep. Big Boy LaCroix trying to man-fight the hell out of Sniper here. It's not really working out for him. This is a situation that I feel like it's more familiar for Big Boy LaCroix to kind of be in. The Pit Lord does eventually go down, but If he needs to, he can just buy and come right back in, and it really isn't looking like that's going to be an option for much longer.
Are under attack. Dire's middle tower has fallen.
Again, the support's just going down. Again, Big Boy LaCroix just going down. The G-Raff calls the 2Gs. White peace to all, and to all a good night. That's it for this match, and that's it for this set. Coffee Cat tries to love Dota so much. New Obs tries to shit talk in all chat. Hey, New Obs, you remember when I laned against you? There wasn't a lot of shit talk in that game, buddy. Anyway, so here's the long and short of this one. I think G-Raff's Laboratory just got drafted out of existence in this game. It actually kind of reminds me of the Bean 10 versus rankings of a scrub game that we just covered. If everything in the world went right for this G-Raff's Laboratory lineup against this Brothers Against NATO lineup, if you play this match 100 times with the same personalities, it's going to be a pretty rare occasion to see G-Raff's Laboratory actually go through and take the win. Just everything is so predicated on Sniper personally doing well. Wraith King really almost just got rolled out of this game entirely. The Slardar started off really scary. He's got 15 kills. I'm sure Copeless is very happy with how the start of this game went, but probably wasn't too happy to find that at the end of this game he was just kind of getting pushed around by basically everybody on the Radiant side. You look at the graph and it's just, just tumbles up and up and up, just the occasional dip, and I think really that's just the power of the draft. Brothers Against NATO, they had a better draft here. Had a better long-term strategy, and again, if you want to make a comparison to the Bean series, I think Brothers Against NATO had a comprehensive way that they could actually win out this game. Even if some of the play on some of these heroes is a bit awkward, you can tell that Luth is not an Underlord specialist, for example. But despite all that, they had a very clear plan to win. They had a very clear objective. They had a very clear way to play this game. They played this game that exact way, and they won. And that's all there is to say about that. So, if you're somebody you know wants to learn Dota 2 at a casual or more competitive level, go to ld2l.gg today to sign up. Pause 3 Dojo is open now, and festivities are really going to start cranking in there over time, so if you're one of those few left who have not joined the party, make sure to come in. There's going to be some replay viewings, there's going to be some diatribes, talking about items, all that kind of good stuff. Until then, see you next time.